my camera cut off in the middle of recording. And so I'm not actually sure what got covered and what didn't. So I'm just gonna say it again, and I'll try to catch it in editing and try to get rid of it if I need to. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry and YouTube, all as Avid Knits, and I do have a Ravelry group for you to come in and chat. I'm going to be hosting a knit along here pretty soon. Try to get us through the summer because it's going to be hot, y'all. And not excited. Not excited. So not excited. Have you ever been to Seattle? You know, everybody complains about it being gray and wet, and we have a lot of that weather because we're coastal here in Houston, and it's my favorite. It's the part that keeps me in Houston. I'm just going to be absolutely blunt about that. No, there's a lot of reasons I'm here. I like the city. Yeah, so I'm going to start you out with, okay, I will give you a little bit of a look at the sweater. So it has a faux seam right down the middle. It has a very pretty rib detail up here at the shoulders with a 3-needle bind off. I did make it 3/4 sleeves because Texas. It has a split hem, like I mentioned, and the front is just a little bit shorter than the back. The reverse stockinette is really, really wearable. I really like to wear it with jeans. Yeah, if I'm slumming around the house, I just put on leggings. Like I'm just gonna be real with you guys. Like nobody likes jeans. Like, so that is what I am wearing. So I am going to talk about finished objects. I have one finished object. And it is this pair of socks. So these are an ankle version of the Speckled Space socks. Sorry. So they have this really beautiful little detail right here. The yarn is from a homespun house. It was her November Mystery Club. It's called Elderberry, and so it's got these beautiful speckles in it. And then, to be honest, I don't think that the contrast had a name, so we don't really know what that was. But I will pop it down here if it turns out that it did, and I just can't remember. So these is my finished object for the week. And yeah, they are really squishy and really comfortable. The yarn is amazing. It is not her merino cashmere nylon. It's not her MCN. If you don't know, Molly from A Homespun House and her family, she used to live in Germany. Her and her family lived in Germany, and they relocated to the States. Wisconsin or Michigan, one of those two. And for some reason, I don't know the whole story, but for some reason she was not able to get her MCN base here. And after a couple of months, she just, I don't know what she did. I don't know if she begged. I don't know if they offered. But she just was not finding what she wanted. And so she was able to work out with the distributor that they would send to the States. So she's carrying that again. I've never used it. But if it was worth, having to get from Germany, then there must be something about it that she really enjoyed, right? So those socks are a gift. And along with those, I'm going to be sending out this shawl. All right, so we discussed on the first episode that we're going to have some real talk around here, right? So let's have some real talk just real fast. I cast this shawl on pretty much an embarrassingly long time ago, sometime last year, maybe. I don't even know anymore, guys. You ever get the blues? You know what that is, right? Like you don't know why, but you're just not having it, and you're not going to have it. And I don't know about you, but the more that I try to fix it, the worse it gets. So for me, I kind of just have to let it take its toll. Probably get once or twice a year where I just get down and I'm just tired of it all. I guess there's nothing really that sets it off. It's not a seasonal deal, nothing like that. You just get tired sometimes, right? So anyway, I hit one of those patches last year. So in 2018. Around about February, and I just could not kick it. I just couldn't get out of it. I tried every little trick that I knew. Was not happening. And it was my knitting. My knitting is the thing that took the dive. So I just stopped knitting basically for a year. So that skein of Madeline Tosh that I showed you that I keep in my car, the ball of yarn that I keep in my car, that's not in there on purpose, you guys. It's in there because I forgot about it last year. I'll get to it someday. It's fine. Anyway, so this past Christmas, you know, I had FOMO. I didn't want to miss out on the Christmas Eve cast on, and so I did it, and I was very fortunate that that kind of clicked for me. You know, I was able to start knitting again. So I've finished quite a few projects between now and that point, and it's great. It's great to have my knitting back, to be honest with you. But when we were talking about whip shaming, I was going through my pile, and I found this, and it is one that has been on the needles for quite some time. It's very on brand, so everybody be ready. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were still recording. I didn't want to do this whole thing again because I got through the whole podcast and realized that it had turned off after like 4 minutes. At least it's not yesterday. Okay, yesterday was definitely a Monday, you guys. I'll take it. This is fine. Anyway, I cast on the Geology shawl. And I'm knitting it out of Malabrigo lace in the colorway Volcan. And Volcan means volcano in Spanish. So volcano, geology, ha ha ha. You know you love it. It's all on brand. That's what you want. So anyway, I am only on the 3rd layer. Here we go. So the bottom is a stockinette layer. The one right above it is a seed stitch layer. And then this one here is the lace layer. And then next comes the escalator. So it will basically be like a graphic. It almost looks like steps. So I'm really excited for that one. I'm excited to get that done. The yarn is beautiful. It's a single ply lace weight. And I personally am a Malabrigo fan. I just like everything they do, to be honest. But the colors are phenomenal in this. So, yeah, I will see if I need to insert a picture. You know, if my camera's not cooperating, then I'll insert a picture. My lighting has changed quite a bit in the last hour or so. So I'm not sure what it's going to show you and what it's not. My other works in progress are samples. So I'm not doing any selfish knitting at the moment. It's all deadline knitting, basically. It's all, not deadline knitting, but it's all knitting for other people, I guess. I straightened out my Ingle sweater and put some stuff on the body. I didn't make enough progress to show you. I'll show it to you again when I bind off the body or when I get some sleeves on it or something. Like, you guys will see that later. I cast on sleeves today for my little cabin sample that I'm knitting. So I have 2 of them. I just need to... Sorry, I dropped a stitch. I do have 2 of them started. I just... with my sleeves, especially when they're knit in the round, I don't like to cast on 2 things in the round at the same time. I find it really finicky. So usually I just cast on, get through the cuff, and then put them on needles together so that I can work them 2 at a time. So sleeves are the same as the body for the little cabin. You get your little house there with your little pump. And so it does have baubles. These are itty bitty. Does anybody else look at these and think that they're going to fit like a 7-year-old? So the cuff, I kind of wish there had been a different cast on requested, but it's fine. It's supposed to be very, very form-fitting, and it definitely is. It is a size built smaller than mine. Like, it's not my size, I'm sorry. It's a smaller size than what I wear, so I'm hoping. Eclair's yarn, this is Autumn and Indigo in her worsted, and her yarn is... it blocks really well. So the body I had to block pretty aggressively to make sure that everything came out to the measurements it was supposed to. My gauge was right. It's just the baubles really suck it in. So I'll do the same thing with the sleeves and hopefully everything will be all right. The other work in progress I have is another sample that I'm going to talk really briefly about. I didn't get to show it to you the last time I showed you the swatch. I did catch about 30 seconds of this on the last on the video that cut off really early. So I do know that this is not true to color at all. But these are the sleeves of the Svensson sweater by Julie Hoover. It's a Brooklyn tweed pattern. It is knit in red stag fibers in the merino worsted, and the colorway I believe is Welsh mantle. My local yarn store, one of my local yarn stores, is owned by Sharon Graff, and her husband is the dyer behind Red Stag Fibers. So that's turning out really beautifully. I know it's not coming in very true to color. It's a very, very rich chocolate brown with copper highlights. So like when the sun hits it, it's almost like looking at really like an old penny. It's just beautiful. It's very, very pretty yarn. So anyway, that's working out really well, and I'm really enjoying the cables. But between the cables and the baubles on worsted weight, the lace shawl on 6s, and my one piece of tiny little selfish knitting, which are sport socks on size 1s, dude, my hands are grumbling. They're screaming today, especially. So I've been trying really hard to dedicate my knitting time, get in my knitting, take some breaks while I'm doing it, and then just be done with it for the next couple of days until my hands can rest. My sister-in-law's coming for coffee tomorrow. Usually I'll take a sock with me, or like my sweater. I take the body of my sweater if I'm knitting in the round, so whenever we go to brunch or whatnot. And then that way get some knitting done, you know. I usually try to do selfish knitting when she's here because my samples right now are thought-provoking. Like, I need to think about that, so... I will tell you about my work in progress socks a little bit later because they kind of vibe into my DFW fest. All of that's going to kind of flow into itself, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here. Yeah, I'm really paranoid about this camera. I'm ridiculous. Okay. Yeah. So other than, so those are my works in progress. I have one plan that I'm going to try to get on the needles here pretty quick. I was going through, so we talked about on a couple weeks ago about Texas weather, right? And we talked about how Texas has beautiful springs, amazing springs with the wildflowers and the blue bonnets and the beautiful weather, and you can sit outside and the long golden shadows in the evening, and you guys. So we went from 2 days of beautiful 60s and 70s weather to 50 and raining, and then later that day it was 85. And it has really, honestly, Texans are very much like British people, whereas we like to complain about our weather. Now, we're not as unpredictable as the UK because we have no jet stream, but I think because of our size and where we're located, you can have literally all seasons in one day and everywhere. So, my in-laws live 10 minutes east of us, and we can have a hurricane and they're like playing outside on the trampoline and they're fine. So, it's nuts here, but it is what it is. So I've been looking at summer tops because I don't really have any. Last year was probably one of the first years that I really started wearing shorts. Don't ask. I've always been a blue jeans girl. So I finally found shorts that I actually really like, and so I wore those last year. And I find that with my shorts, I prefer kind of a flowy top. So I like fitted tops with my jeans, and then kind of flowier tops with my shorts. Oh, and underneath all of my flowy tops, generally I'm wearing a cami. I pretty much wear like a cami tank top every day, everywhere. TMI. It's humid here and it's hot and you don't want to sweat on your good shirt. So you just, you have the cami and it keeps everything good. I understand that for most knitters or crocheters, for most makers, and even weavers, for most makers in the summer, cotton and linen. I am open to the fact that I need to try a different cotton and linen, and I am open to the fact that I may have grown up in my fiber tastes and will now understand the value of cotton or linen. But let's be fair, guys, I just don't like working with it. It's definitely a project material, in my opinion. Product material, not process, and that's fine. I'll find a love for it. I'll find it some way. Just probably not right now. And so I was looking at some of my favorite tops and what they were made out of, and some of them are cotton, and then you have like the rayon and polyester. And I'm like, well, if plastic can be comfortable in Houston summer, then for sure wool can be, because, you know, wool is temperature adjusting and self-regulating, and it is also moisture wicking. So wool all the way, you guys. So I have decided that I want to make a lounging top by Joji Locatelli, and as soon as I thought about doing it, I went into the yarn store, and one of the ladies at my knit table was making one. So I got to kind of see how hers is shaping out, which was really cool. I have never made a Joji pattern. I have a bunch in my queue. I've just never done it. I finished a Huhui shawl for a local yarn store knit out of Red Stag fibers, and that was the first time I'd ever done one of her patterns. And she talks a lot about her design process, which I really appreciate, because it's not... she's very thoughtful about it, and it's wonderful the way she speaks. But a lot of her shawls in particular they look really nice, but they're very simple stitches. And I think that for shawls, I just really don't enjoy knitting them. That's why this geology shawl is taking so long. I just don't enjoy them. And really, honestly, these simple stitches, I just don't get it. I've knit really complex cable shawls and enjoyed those projects because you get lost in the cables, I think. But yeah, shawl knitting's just not really my bag. I'm kind of working on it. Anyway, back to Joji. I have been wanting to make a top from her for a very long time, and she has the lounging top, which I just showed you, which is sleeveless, and I'm going to be making it out of Life in the Long Grass. This is the same yarn that I'm using for the contrast color in my Ingles sweater, that pale purple pink kind of color. This is her fine sock, so it is 460 yards of a 75/25 merino nylon, and it is in the colorway Cantaloupe. So it's got these really beautiful corals and peaches and purples and a little bit of green. It looks like the inside rind of a cantaloupe, and it's absolutely beautiful, and I can't wait to cast that on. I'm really excited about that. Yeah, so I think we are about done with normal podcasty stuff, guys. There's some stuff going on over here, but I'll wait until next week to kind of fill you in on that. I want to try to streamline this as much as possible. So if you are not interested in the show or the Fiber Festival or the haul or any of that, I totally understand that, especially coming off of EYF. It seems like everybody's doing these videos. Speaking of EYF, if you did not go and you were interested in it, or you are interested in Scotland, Caroline of Dundernit has the Knitting Vicariously podcast, and she did some beautiful vlogs of Edinburgh, where she grew up. She grew up there. So she does some walking, and at the end of her EYF vlog video that went up a couple of days ago, she has probably a good solid half hour at least of just footage of the city itself. So I really recommend that. That was very pretty. And then Books and Cables, Heidi, she did amazing vlogs, and she traveled not just Edinburgh, but she did the Highlands and everything, and she's got a very wonderful picture of her with a Highland cow. It's very sweet. Yeah. So speaking of Highland cows, that's another thing that I finally got. Toft UK is a company who does a lot of crochet patterns. They do knitting too, but they do a lot of crochet patterns. They do stuffies. And last year for EYF, they did Morag, the Highland cow, and this year it was Dougal I'm so sorry, he's some sort of a ram, and he has rainbow horns, and those were their EYF release. But I really wanted this kit last year, and it was a show exclusive, so I missed out on it, and I thought they would bring it to the shop, and they didn't. But I missed out on it, and they brought it back as a normal rotation this year, so I was really excited about that, and I went ahead and got it, and I'm really excited to have my cow. I have to do my cow here pretty soon, so I can have it in my yarn room and snuggle with it. If you're not into the show thing, that's totally understandable. I will see you next time. I hope you come back to see us again. But if you are here for DFW, or to hear me prattle about DFW, it won't be crazy long. You don't need a snack or nothing. I mean, if you want one, I'm not going to be the one to stand between you and food. You go get at it, all right? I'll wait. Be right here. All right, let's get into it. Cool. So when you walk into DFW Fiberfest, it's at the Irving Convention Center, which was really great. My husband and I had debated about going for a couple of days, and we had gone from I'll go by myself. You and Hector can stay here and have a weekend. Hector's my 7-year-old son. You and Hector can have a weekend together. You spend some time with your family one-on-one. He doesn't get a lot of that because we're always together, which is great. But I was like, if you're just not interested in the show, I'll drive up. It's only 4 hours. I'll drive up. I'll do the show. Maybe I'll stay overnight. Maybe I'll drive home. Whatever, You don't have to come if you're not interested. Or we can all go and you can go do something with Hector in Dallas. Or we can all go and stay the night. There's a hotel right across the street and they've got this beautiful courtyard and they've got a pool inside. They've got fire pits set up outside, little stations that you can sit in. And I was like, I think that'd be fun. You guys could do pool day for a couple, you could play the pool for a couple hours with Hector and we could have, a couple of drinks out on the patio and he can run around and it would be just a really calm evening. That was the original plan. And then the day before the Fiber Festival, we were looking at it like, oh no, Grandma's birthday is on Sunday. So we can't stay the night. So we have to be back in Houston on Sunday and his mom is calling and she wants to do breakfast at Grandma's. This is my husband's grandmother. So we're like, okay, well, we can't stay in Dallas overnight on Saturday. So we're going to go up and we're going to come back down. And so we did that. We went up Saturday morning. It's a 4-hour drive for us, which I know most people, and 4 hours. I don't know. It's whatever. I've lived here my whole life. To get from one end of my state to the other is like a 21-hour ordeal. It's a big thing. So pretty much anytime that anything under 4 hours is local practically, So we're really fortunate with where we are. We're 2 hours from Austin and then we're 4 hours from Dallas and we're 4 hours from San Antonio and we're just in this little radius. It's really great. The big cities of Texas are all pretty much right around each other. Yeah, so we drove up and that was really nice. We got to spend a lot of time together. I worked on my Svensson sweater, my cable sweater on the way up there, and my hands were kind of bugging me, so I worked on it up there. And then I didn't take any knitting into the festival. But we got up to Irving Convention Center, and Irving Convention Center is in a beautiful area. It's a perfect place to have a festival. Because if you come, particularly with your family, or if you come out of town, you have the convention center. You have the hotels right there. You have it looks like a really high-end shopping mall, or I don't know if you guys have this where you're from, but kind of like a village type thing, where you would park and then you would walk through, and the shopping center would be like a little mini downtown almost. I don't even know how to explain it. I'll try to put some pictures in here of kind of what I'm talking about. But they had the Alamo Draft House, which is a movie theater that serves food. They had a bunch of restaurants. There's some shopping. So if you're not there for Irving Convention Center or for the Fiber Festival, there's all this other stuff you can be doing. So basically we parked in one garage. We got to the corner of the street. We picked a restaurant and they had a brunch going on, which was really good. It was at the Thirsty Lion and that was really nice. And then we came out and he kissed me goodbye and I went left and he went right. And we were like a building over from each other. So that was really great. He took my son to see Captain Marvel, and when I got back to the car, my son announced that it was the greatest movie he's ever seen. Which is really funny because we were talking about it, and he was like, who's Captain Marvel? And I said, well, she's and he goes, it's a girl? And I was like, yeah? And he's like, oh. Well, I hope she's as cool as Thor is. I was like, buddy, she's better. And he was very doubtful. But coming out of that, he was convinced that Captain Marvel is where it's at. So that was really fun. I was super excited to see that. I was just really surprised by the commentary because usually the female superhero is his favorite. It's always his favorite. It's never the guy. So I was really surprised to hear that he stacked her against Thor. I don't know. I thought it would be somebody else, I guess. Yeah, anyway, so they went and saw Captain Marvel, and I went to the Fiber Festival. Yeah. You guys, I wore my swag, my purple swag, the one I wore in the very first episode. You guys, I didn't even get the door of the convention center all the way open, and somebody commented on it. I was walking in across the lobby to get to the table to get my ticket, and the lady at the ticket booth was, oh, I love your sweater, it's so pretty, and she just gushed, and I blushed a lot. And I was like, thank you or whatever. And she got the name of the pattern from me and everything. And that was really nice. And then I walked through the market, and I swear to you, I don't think I took more than 6 or 7 steps before somebody commented on it. And that was such a nice feeling. It was such a wonderful feeling to have all these knitters, or to even just be walking through the booth and look through a booth and happen to catch the shop owner's eye and have, them look at my sweater and nod or give me a thumbs up or, just enjoy it, which was wonderful. Now, I'm going to say something, and I do not mean this to belittle anybody's skill set, okay? I do not personally feel like the Zweig is a particularly hard sweater. It's nothing super fancy. It's very striking. Her pattern is very, very pretty. The lace looks super complicated. It's not. It's very easy. But I have not met anybody who looks bad in a Zweig. It doesn't matter your coloring, your shape, your height, your anything. Anybody can wear a Zweig and make it look beautiful. And I think that it's an incredibly flattering sweater. And I wish that everybody would make them. So if you don't have a Zweig, you should make one. So we can be the Zweig posse, because I want to be in it. My friend Andrea on Instagram, we met on Instagram. She lives in Indiana. We've never actually met, obviously, but we met on Instagram, and she just finished her Zweig, and she tagged me in it, and look what I made, and it's utterly gorgeous. Oh my god, it's gorgeous. It's just beautiful. But anyway, I got so many compliments on my sweater, and I was just absolutely blown away. So if by chance you were at DFW and you saw me, or if at any point you've ever complimented my sweater, thank you so much. It means so much. And it was just really, really, really wonderful. Yeah, but there were some really pretty sweaters there. I was out there for day 2 of the festival on Saturday, and I saw a couple of really pretty Sipilas, right? I'm pretty sure it's Sipilas. So a couple of Kate and Hunter patterns, one all over color work that I couldn't identify, some really beautiful color block ones made out of hand spun. This really, really pretty stuff this over for the festival. When you walk into Houston Fiber, here I go. When you walk into DFW Fiber Fest, they had the market, and then in the center of the market, they had tables and chairs for you to sit with your knit groups, and then they had the fibratory, like a laboratory, but not. And when you went into the fibratory, they had a yarn tasting station, so they had a few yarns from a bunch of different vendors in the thing with different needles that you could try. Signature had a booth there. You could try out their needles, which was really fun. And then they had another table, and it was all volunteer-based, and it was all learning. So they had carders, they had a drum carder, they had looms, they had weaving, and you could pick up anything, and a volunteer would come and help you and show you how to use it. They had 6 or 7 different spinning wheels, varying from super modern to kind of older school. They had the ones with the wheel set right in front of you. They had the ones where the wheel is here, and then your treadle, and then your bobbin. I'm not a spinner. I'm not super good on terms. So if you know and I'm wrong, hey, put it down there, okay? Because I want to learn. And then they had the walking wheels. So I got a little bit of a rundown on history, and I was so excited. But apparently they were the ones that were used in the fabric mills when, or in the fiber mills when men did most of the spinning. And so it's this giant wheel. This thing is probably, 8 feet in diameter. Yeah, in diameter, and I guess they would just spin it, and I guess it self-propels almost. You don't have to treadle it. You just kind of stand there and do your thing. And it's over 100 years old. They had 2 of them there, and you could touch them. It was amazing. It was utterly amazing. Then they had a little stage, and they did, a meet and greet for the grocery girls. They did, the Sheba guys came, and they did kind of a comedy thing on Friday night, which I wasn't there for. And they had a lady with a loom, and you could sit there and watch her, and she would explain to you what she was doing. There was a lady over here with a circular sock machine, and she did the same thing. And then there was a table that made me wish that my child had come to the Fiberfest with me. I do not remember his name. I will put it right here if I can find him. There was a gentleman who spins silk, and he brought the goods. He brought the works, you guys. There was larval stage silkworms, adult stage silkworms, or you know what I mean, caterpillars, the caterpillar stage. They had them where they were just starting their cocoons. They had them after the cocoon thing. He had a setup for the Asiatic silk moths, that produce silk, and where they were found and what kind of silk they made. He had spun some up so you could see it. Texas has 3 different silk moths. I didn't know that. Yeah, that was crazy. So they had like giant crochet caterpillars. They were so cool. I took a video, and if I'll look at it, and if it works, I'll put it at the end of here so you can see it. He was super informative, and I am so sad that I didn't catch his name. It's on the video. I'm sure he's wearing a name tag. But he was very polite, and when I had mentioned that my son was super into science, he said that he would start at the beginning, and I could film him give the lecture so that my kid could watch it, which was so very kind, just wonderfully kind. That whole thing you hear about Texas hospitality is a real thing, just so you know. So he talked about how they would collect the cocoons, and they would, then you would heat them in boiling water to make the fibers soften. So this is a cocoon. It's been dried, so there's no, there's nothing to it. It's just dry. And you can see the little fuzz fibers right here, maybe. And so basically when you put this in hot water, all of these get kind of sticky. And then he took just like a Libman scrub brush, and he kind of agitated the cocoons, and these strands would come off. And so he pulled off a couple feet of the strands because that wasn't, workable. Those are just kind of gloppy. And then he gathered up all of the strands, probably 18 or 20 strands at a time. He gathered them all up, and he ran them through the eyelets of a stand and then down to a spinning wheel. And basically it's a block, and you just turn the crank, and it, spins the silk strands onto it there, and you can spin your own silk. And you guys, it was fascinating. It was absolutely fascinating. And I was super sad because my son is really into bugs and that kind of a thing. And so he would have absolutely loved that. I was just thinking about the fact that I got a flyer from him. So I'm hoping that the name... Michael Cook. There it is. Michael Cook. And he has a website which is called wormspit.com, because of course it is. There was a lady there from the Fire Festival who was talking about getting her own worms to be able to start spinning some of her own silk. So you can do that with him. And he talks about silk and silkworms, and he talks about, this little pamphlet talks about when you get them, where they come from, so India or Japan or China. He talks about the difference between tussa silk, muga silk, the traditional silk for embroidery, that kind of a thing. And that was super interesting. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, Michael Cook, look him up at wormspit.com.